Hello, this is Christy. Today I'd like to talk to you about personalizing the AI operations and style in Riverside. Riverside does a lot of stuff automatically once you finish recording or uploading some files, or maybe an episode you just finished recording, it finishes processing and then it passes it on to some automations. Those automations do a bunch of operations that save you a lot of time and you can configure what they do. And also, you can configure the AI responses and styling when it runs. And you can also configure the personalization of the co-creator, which is the chat interface, the agent that runs inside of Riverside to work on your recording. So today I want to show you all of these personalization points that you can do in the automation part and also in the AI co-creator responses. Let's go. So I am here in this studio, and everything I'm going to show you applies to the entire studio. If you're lucky enough to have more studios, you have access to all of these personalizations for each studio separately. So if you're running multiple podcasts in Riverside, you can personalize these differently according to the podcast. So let's go first to the part that runs automatically when you finish recording or uploading some files. I have this interview here from the Builder Straight Talk podcast. So if you go inside of this, you notice that as soon as that recording ended, Riverside already created a bunch of stuff. You will find it in the Made for You section. If you go to the Made for You section, you can see that Riverside has already created for me a bunch of things. The magic episode, and this is like a fully processed episode. Then it's got magic clips, which are really stuff that you can use for social media clips, which have this kind of like rating here, which tells, if they're a good choice for potentially becoming viral. I don't know about that. But anyway, these are created automatically. I didn't actually tell Riverside to do this. Also, magic segments. These are longer portions that it extracts from the episode with more, different topics or things that might be posted on their own. And you notice these are landscape. You notice the social media clips are vertical, and the magic episode is landscape too. And also you can get things like hooks that you can use to open your episode with. And these are vertical too, but usually if I'm editing my episode, I will use a hook at the front end of the long form episode, which is the landscape one that we post on the platforms like YouTube and the other ones. So I wouldn't really need these to be vertical, but I'll show you how to change that. And finally, you get posts. The blog posts here, posts, social media posts, Instagram stuff. This is all extracted from the episode. Now, when you have the AI run and do these automatically for you, you don't actually tell it to do this and you don't have a way to stop it from doing this, but you can change what it's doing. So the first part that you can personalize, you notice that every one of these major ones has a personalize button right here. When you click on that, it actually gives you access to all of them, all of these elements that it creates, so you can now customize what they do. And I mentioned I don't want the hooks to be vertical. I can go in here in the hooks section, and you can say, guide the AI producer to create the exact content you're after. Now, one of the things here is the ratio. For example, I don't want the hooks to be 9:16. I can click in here and say, no, I would like them to be 16:9. So the next time that I finish a recording or upload some files, it's going to do this exact thing, but now it's going to do it landscape format. And there's other options here for the layout. For example, what do you want to happen with the layout for the hooks? Honestly, I like to keep them full screen like the recommendations in here because I usually pick up a hook from the guest, not the host. So they have to stay full screen. I may choose the scene when I go in the episode itself, but I just keep it full screen. And there's another thing here. You can customize whether you want the brand to be applied or not. Now, the brand is the thing with the brand kit that we've done in a different video before, which allows you to upload your logo and you have an intro and an outro and maybe a caption style, all those things. Personally, I don't care for those to be applied for the hooks themselves because most of the time I end up integrating the hook into a long episode edit. So I don't really care for those to be included. So I can say just disable the brand. Other things you can specify here is whether to remove the pauses or not. And if it should do that, then you can go fast or you can try to make it not so fast. It's going to be a balanced change here. So all of these options can be turned on and off. So when you do that, you tell the AI what to do and what not to do when the episode finishes recording. So you can also personalize the magic clips, which is where you probably spend a lot of time just deciding what's happening here. Again, these are vertical because, you're going to post those on social medias. You can choose which layouts to use. For example, if you want to say, I don't want to switch to the layout, all the speakers. I want to just keep the speaker person at all times on the screen. If you're just picking stuff from your guest or the host, it doesn't switch cameras. Or you can say, whenever we have a different rhythm, like, you can switch scenes more often in the video to make it more engaging, I suppose. You can then decide what to switch to. Other options are just stay full screen, put picture in picture, do a split screen or a grid, which means it's going to keep both speakers on the screen at all times. It's not going to start doing the smart layouts feature. So this is, again, you can control how the editing takes place so that when you have all these clips generated for you, you don't have to spend so much time editing them before you're ready to export and post them, right? So these are all options that you can predefine in here. Other options, you can choose the duration for the magic clips, right? I want to choose maybe shorter ones or longer ones. You can leave it on auto, but I usually tell it to stop maybe between 1.5 minutes. This is my sweet spot. You can change that in here and it's going to respect that roughly because, it can't really get precise timings on the quotes or the segments that it extracts all the time, but it's going to try and aim for that range that you specify in there. And also you can say how to remove the pauses, whether you want it to do that or not. If you don't want to have too many jumpy cuts in them, you can maybe say don't remove pauses at all. So then you can decide whether you're going to do them if you're editing them manually anyway. And the remove fill words, again, this is your preference. If you want to do it or not, you can turn this on and off here. Smart muting, you know what it is. It mutes the other person when the other person is talking so that if there's any background noise or something like that, it will be avoided or reduced at all times. Okay, so these are the personalizations options here, and you can do this for hooks. You can do it for magic segments. Again, you can choose here all of the same options, but they apply for that or the magic episodes. Personally, I don't really use the magic episodes because I like to edit the episode myself. But again, there's no way to actually disable this feature. So Riverside is going to do them anyway. You can just decide not to use it, okay? So these are the things. And here you have a little plus, kind of hard to see, but this plus in here, it doesn't actually allow you to add your own workflow. It just allows you to suggest something that maybe the team, the Riverside developers, might implement later. Personally, I would like to have an option here to generate something else, like a fully blown blog post with a particular set of guidelines that I have. Which brings me to the next point. Let's go to the other personalization thing, which actually goes deeper into the AI functionality that Riverside has, the co-creator, which you can find in the top right section here, Ask Co-Creator. Now, the co-creator runs on the recording itself. So we have it here. It's all processed and transcribed, and you can open it from here, and you've got a bunch of suggested options that you can trigger. You can do as many as you like. If you didn't care for the magic clips that the co-creator created for you, you can actually ask it to do new ones. And there you go. It's starting to work on that, and it's going to go ahead and do it. But even here, you can influence what it does. You can, of course, tell it down here in the chat window, hey, choose a clip that focuses on this particular part of the conversation. It's going to do that. But one thing that you can do is go to the top here and personalize what the AI does. If you think about it, it's a bit like if you've heard the mention of a system prompt, right? So whenever the AI starts to do something, it loads a system prompt or a predefined sort of persona or role that it's going to play. And you can influence that before it starts to produce things for you or give you the responses. So you have a few examples here in terms of tone that the Riverside team created, like a thought leader and late night host, getting more energetic, influencer, or custom, which is what I want to show you today. So basically, you can have a basic instruction here. You can say, what's my show name? What's it about and who it's for, right? So we can say the Builder Straight Talk. The show name is Builder Straight Talk. with the host, Michael Krisa, a show about builders for builders with builders. Okay, I'm just going to be really generic about this description here, but this generates a little bit of a vibe or gives the AI a little instruction of what language to use, how to formulate the different other elements that you're going to build for with the AI. So in here, you can customize your own, create your own role. By the way, you can go in here and say, write your own instructions, right? So I can say, I would like to introduce a little different instruction in the prompt for the AI, which is going to govern all of the other stuff that it does. So for example, write in first person from the point of view of Michael Krisa, the host of the show. You can tell it not to use cliches. You can tell it not to use gratuitous comparisons and hyperboles. And you know how the AI sometimes get too overly excited and tries to use these grand worlds. We're exploring the world of construction today. That sounds very cheesy and I don't like it. So you can actually introduce those instructions in here. And let's save that. And I want to show you again for the personalization. Oh, by the way, it's finished that clip for me right here, reclaiming time. So you can see how the layout is now top to bottom. And also you can save, by the way, you can save this in the project. So you can take over and edit this one. But I'm going to go back to personalize and I'm going to show you the other thing that you can do. Down here, you've got this new instruction command, which if you click on these little information icons, they say provide guidance on the tone and the structure and the key points and so on for each asset. So the asset refers to all those clips and all those things that the AI makes for you. So I'm going to click new instruction. And here is where you say, how do you want to personalize and what? So for example, my choice usually for the blog post, for example, is to, again, speak in first person. Just imagine like the host is writing the blog post about the episode that we just recorded. Then I would like to provide the information for that to say, instead of the AI generating the blog post like, oh, Michael Krisa and this other guy are talking about something. No, I want to say I, which could be the host, Michael Krisa. I had a talk with somebody, we talked about these things. So the blog post sounds like it's written from the host's perspective. So I like to go in here and to blog post and say, this is a basic instruction that it generates like an example here. Turn the episode into a blog post with an intro, key argument, supporting examples, and a clear conclusion. Editorial tone. Okay, that's really vague. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, figure out what the main topic of the episode is, then generate a comprehensive blog post covering all of the topics in the discussion. Write in first person using I and me as the speaking voice. I am the host and the blog post should be written from my own perspective as if I am narrating the blog post. This is one of the instructions that I like to put in the blog post for the AI. Even if I use an external AI, not necessarily just the Riverside AI, but any other AI that I ask to create content, for example, for my tutorials or my videos, if I ask the AI to summarize or write a short blog post from it, I always tell it, use my voice, write from my own perspective, not a general, like someone is reporting on my videos or the episodes. So here we go. I'm going to just save this. And there you go. It actually closes it down. But if you open it again, you can see the instruction you added here and you can open it up to edit if you need to make edits. A new instruction set here, for example, is if you are doing a social media post, usually it creates too long posts for the social media. So I like to say, you know what, for the LinkedIn post, for example, you can maybe do longer ones. Where on X, it's going to do a thread here. I don't want to care for the thread, but you can actually ask it to make them short, maybe 280 characters or whatever the limit is now for X. And it should try to stay in that place. And also you can say, include a link to the YouTube version of this show in the first post. Since you don't have the link, add a placeholder like so. And you can put like a square brackets, URL to video. There you go, like this. So that's my instruction there, right? If I don't have anything else to tell the AI, at least I can tell it the stuff that I prefer for it to do. in combination with everything else it's doing, right? So save that. I'm going to actually now request a social media post. So going to the suggestions here, you have a bunch of predefined actions, and one of them should be the thread for X. So let's go ahead and use this. So there you go. It has created a Twitter or an X thread for me. Here's what I learned. Building association isn't about the houses. It's about systems. And look at this. Watch the full episode, URL to video, and join me, Michael Krisa, as I dive into the reel. So you see, it has taken those things that I specified, the tone, speaking from first person, and included the URL to the video here, which I can substitute when the video is actually available on the platforms. And you can see that URL also at the end here in the last post in the thread, if you're doing a thread. Now let's see if it actually listens to the other instruction about the blog post. So going again to the suggestion here, we can go and find where's the blog post right there. And you don't have to prompt anything. You don't have to specify anything. Riverside has some background prompts and predefined requests that it just passes on to the AI, which has access to the transcript of the entire conversation and is going to produce a blog post for me. I requested that, these prompts generate longer content, longer blog posts. I like to have a blog post at least like 1,000 characters long. And for an episode that's like an hour long, just doing like a brief blog post doesn't really work. So I like to do longer blog posts. They're not show notes, which you have a limit on, but the blog posts themselves, I like them to be longer. So here we go. Look, it's doing the blog post right now. Look at this. It speaks from the first person view. Like I said, when I first sat down with Chris, president, blah, 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 I quickly realized this wasn't another industry talk and so on. So look at this. This is actually like Michael is narrating or writing this blog post from his point of view of him doing the call. So this is really great. So I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised that this one created quite a long blog post from this episode, and it provides different sections with the key lessons. Again, this is something that is probably ingrained in the prompt that Riverside created, which I can possibly override. Instead of saying, don't put these tips and lessons in here, I could actually go and personalize the blog post to say, do not create key takeaways and stuff like that. Just don't do it. And here again, it provides a placeholder for the URL to watch the episode. So overall, you can influence these AI things. And I suggest that when you personalize these, look at the episodes and the podcast style and provide with hints and ideas and maybe even samples of the tone that you use in the content that you create, so that every episode of the podcast, every description and every AI feature or asset, as they call it, would be influenced by that style and voice instead of being just generic ChatGPT or whatever model is used in here, just be like boring. And you can tell they're actually AIs most of the time. So this will gives you an option to actually inject some of your personality or the host if you're just editing for somebody else. Most of the time, when I generate these and I submit them to the client and the guest to read and check, most of the time I get no complaints, no objections, and everybody says they are spot on, they're accurate, and they are good to go. So, very minor changes most of the time or none at all. So there you go. This is how you personalize the responses and the automations that come out of the AI and the co-creator with your own voice. And Riverside provides all of this in the interface in here to edit your episodes and save time. The AI actually saves me a lot of time in packaging these episodes and getting them ready to publish. Some of the times I do some tweaks, but really, it's really great. So I like the fact that now it produces much longer responses, which was a bit of a problem for me. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this was useful, and feel free to put it in the comments if you have any questions or ideas or even interesting prompts that you specify for your own podcast, because I'm curious what you're using. So thank you again. See you next time.